Hello, and welcome back to Hollow Knight, as we do part 2. First, I thank everyone for the kind feedback and advice that's been given about this playthrough. A lot of it is practice to try and become a lot more confident with talking while playing. And so some of this is just trying, experiment and seeing how it goes, and then slowly I'll try and do commentary with a variety of other games. So, now that we have the Mothwing Cloak, there's a few other things that we can get. You could technically go up and get Baldur's Shell, I think I mentioned last time, which I might do just to show that. Some of this is taking a kind of informative kind of thing, even though I'm not sure as to how many people are going to find it entirely informative. And I'm trying to put timestamps for anything that is showing that what you can get, where, when, and so forth. And I'll probably try and do a separate guide with that, because one of these days I will do a guide. I was technically going to do that with Ori 2, but that didn't quite... I didn't go very fast with it. Although there's no real expiration date on doing such. But this way, going to right from where you found Zote would allow you to make it over to the Howling Cliffs if you have the Mantis Claw. Actually, wait. Yeah, that's where I need to go. Unfortunately, you just can't get through there. You go down here to fight the boulders. Your best bet is to just have one stay in their shell, kill the other, and then there you go. The downside to coming here if you've upgraded your nail is it takes forever to get the soul. But hopefully you have some soul vessels. Okay, why isn't he... It took forever to get those first boulders out. There's a decent amount of Geo you get, but without the claw you can't make it up there to get into Howling Cliffs. But you can always come back later. The downside to going there even after you get the claw is that because most of the stuff there, either to get everything you need to have the Dream Nail at the very least. Having the Lantern is probably your best bet as well, so you can get Joni's Blessing in one go. But there's... But you could, hypothetically, it's not recommended, go and traverse Joni's dark room without the lantern. That would be a much worse idea. It's not nearly as easy as the Stone Sanctuary because you have a lot of critters that actually will chase you around. So the easiest way if you're just trying to get into Fungal Wastes is to just go back to the crossroads, either doing the Stag Way or save quitting back to the Ancestral Mound if you rested at that bench last. And then from there, you can actually get in pretty quickly just by going to the left. In the room where you had the the little Aspid gauntlet near the start of the game. But getting here, you can get Thorns of Agony, which isn't exactly the greatest kind of charm, but it's a nice little one-notch charm if you don't have anything better. Although in terms of one-notch charms, you of course have the Wayward Compass, which makes you invincible, which is why I'm not using it, because it's too powerful. Almost went right into the acid. But Dream Wielder is actually one of my favorite one-notch charms. just because it makes the Dream Nail a lot more viable to use for soul generation and so forth during fights. So if you're going to go in to Fungal Waste from Greenpath, then this would be the route that you'd be going. You just ignore the Stone Sanctuary. And of course you can come up here and face Massive Moss Charger. Oop. I thought I was not going to be safe, and then I landed in safety. Of course you can technically get in here without dash, but you're going to hit a roadblock once you reach the Queen Station. I never quite remember where all these guys are located, so I always have to take my time, especially when I'm doing the flower quest. Now there's quite a few ways that you can go. Most of them are blocked off. But once you, and especially, it's better to come back here with the Claw because you can actually get Howling Wraiths and so forth. Of course, we get our boy Quarrel, who once again is one of the main reasons to come this way. Of course, you have a Mask Shard that's tantalizingly out of reach unless you have the Mantis Claw as well. Which again, this is one reason why backtracking here after you get the Claw is a great way to get a number of things. As you can almost have a 7th Mask Shard by the time you enter the City of Tears. So coming down this way will let you get to Cornifer. It's your map if you need it. And so now that we've got a map, that can be pretty useful. Unfortunately, you still need Mantis Claw if you want to go down and explore the left side of that, which will actually get you down into Deepnest if you're so inclined to go there early. There are a few reasons to go there, especially if you want to get the Tram Pass early, which is actually a pretty fun route to go because you really don't need the lantern to get around through there. And of course, coming up here and risking it gives you a Hallowness Seal. You should be okay if you don't have that one last one get too close to you. You move quickly through the room. And that Wanderer's Journal over there, you need either Claw. I think you can do it with Claw and Dash, but I'm not sure if you actually need Crystal Heart, or it was with Double Jump. It's one or the other. Since we're about to do a little mini-boss with the little ogre mushrooms, having full soul to take them down quickly with Vengeful Spirit is always a plus. Of course, if you wanted, you could always backtrack to the Charm Shop, because things like Shaman Stone are really good to get. Now the thing about it is, it doesn't matter if you get hit during this, because getting the Charm Notch that you win from this will give you your full health back. So part of it is just helpful to just burn them down as quickly as you can and move on. So going up this way, you'd be able to... There's another way into Fog Canyon if you have acid resistance. If I go up all the way, I'd reach the Crossroads entrance. But over here, you can find Lake Eater. And the benefit of it is, with the fragile charms, they may break when you die, but they're really useful in Steel Soul because of that. Right now, I'm only going to buy Fragile Greed. I still don't have many options, but this is one way to buy things earlier than I expected. Now, things like, if you wanted to, you could technically farm those ogres, because one will respawn every rest on the bench, but it is still going to take a good bit of time if you do that. And unless you die quite a bit, there's really not much need to grind gold or geo. I think that with the extra geo you get from Fragile Greed, it flashes, but the geo itself flashes to signify that you got the extras amount. So Elder Hu would be one of the dream warrior dreams would be to the right of here, and I always forget about him. Alright, so I've got a little bit of cat aggro, so I may have to pause periodically. Alright, back in business. I will probably just cut out the segments of which I have to pause. Well, I will cut out the segments of which I have to pause to deal with the cat aggro. There's just times in which my cat aggressively wants attention. And she doesn't like to be unable to come in the room. So one thing is, from the left side there, once you get the claw, that's a good way to open up the way to Queen's Station. There's also a grub in that way, so there's a good benefit to go back that way, unless you are going into Deepnest. There's a good bit of geo that can be had from these guys as well, especially with greed. Now, though, if you're trying to do a bench before the Mantis Lords, then one thing that there is a bench down below, which is your best bet to be able to have a safe spot before taking on Mantis Lords. You can beat they're not that difficult to beat, even with the old nail, but if it's your first time, you may find it a little more difficult. Because the one thing about them is they're quite fast. Now, of course, if you're trying to do the one mantises and having trouble with them, it's just make one hit, and then you can do a Vengeful Spirit and they'll die. Or if you have Shaman Stone, you can just Vengeful Spirit them and they'll instantly die. And it kills the flying ones in one hit, even without Shaman Stone. So now with the Mantis Claw, so many things open up. You can get to just about every area now. I think that other than trying to make it to the White Palace outside the palace grounds, because you do need double jump to make it up there, you can more or less get everywhere. Now you might have to do some pogo skips with it to be able to make it to places, because like the Hive is not able to be explored unless you have double jump or you do some pogo in with the little bees. So this opens the way down into the Mantis Lords. Now, if you were to die, or you get, there he is. Or you come back, Coral will tell you that you should probably upgrade your nail. Which is a very helpful bit of advice. Because especially if it's your first time playing, after you get the Mantis Claw, you really want to go and do the City of Tears. Because not only can you sell your relics, as well, you can also do this. But you can get your nail upgraded. Now, one small benefit of going instead to Deepnest... Oh, I messed that up. I can get back up there, though. But the one benefit of going to Deepnest is, once you get the Tram Pass, you actually have a pretty easy way, like going into the City of Tears from that way, to be able to get a Pale Ore along the way. So you can actually get Nail 2 really quick, if you go that route. I'm still not sure which one I'll pick to show it off. But the benefit of going to the Mantis Lords early is not only do you get a lot of Geo, about at 600, you get a Hollowness Seal and you get Mark of Pride, which is a really handy charm. So you have enough time to easily make a swing and do a Vengeful Spirit. You can get 2 easy hits that way. Like you could do a hit and a Vengeful Spirit. Oh. But don't do it like that. You don't get too much opportunity to heal on this fight as well. Like, if you jump over the disc, then you have enough time to do a Mask of Healing. And you certainly have a moment to be able to heal. Huh, the camera got all unbound. Now, you don't want to stay on the edges because they can spawn on you. And what I mean is right here. Don't stand there. Because if they both do a dash like that, they'll spawn right on you. Usually getting hit trying to demonstrate it is not a good idea. And the same thing holds true for the Sisters of Battle fight. Once you get the first one down, it's pretty easy. The most important thing is that you bow respectfully to them. I mean, they're showing you respect, so you might as well return the favor. And now everyone starts bowing. Oh, and if it's your first time, Gathering Swarm's also a really... And now he starts dancing. One thing to make sure, though, is that if you're not really wanting to still kill them to get Geo, that you don't accidentally hit them with any kind of ability, because that will aggro them. So now that we've got a Mantis Lords beat, we can actually go in this room and get all the rewards. Because otherwise that Mantis decides to just lock you out. So although Mark of Pride is a really nice charm, I think I'm going to keep Fragile Greed because the extra Geo is pretty nice. Among other things, you get a bench here if you really want. Okay, so I think I will go into Deepnest first, and then we'll show the stuff that can, how you can get into the City of Tears from that way a little bit easier. As Deepnest... Actually, wait, I do want to show us the backtracking first. Because once you have the Mantis Claw, being able to backtrack and get a variety of things is really handy. And I just remembered that it's probably better to show some of the things that I was overlooking that way. As Deepnest is a little bit riskier than other places, but it's not really that bad, especially if you're just going for the Tram Pass. So going up this way, you not only have a Whisper and Root for whenever you get the Dream Nail, but you can get a Wanderer's Journal, and then you can have an easy way to get out. So going top left would take you to Fungal Core, but that is one of the few places that you absolutely must have the double jump. I guess she wants more attention. 1 second. Okay, I think that she's calmed down a little bit. My cat tends to be very aggressive and wanting attention at times. Which is one reason why I did this initially at 3 in the morning. But one reason to come up here after you get Mantis Claw is you can get that grub and then open the way, connecting these with Queen's Station. Before we go back to Queen's Station, we'll first do the coming this way. That would also open up a way into Deepnest. But it also has a grub, if I remember right. Yeah, it's that way. And going that way would get us to Deepnest. Also, it connects with Queen's Garden. But it gets us the Spore Shroom charm. So I don't intend to go into Deepnest. But I might actually forget where the actual thing is. Of course, now we get the Moss Prophet, which is the best NPC of the game. So we can't actually go further that way just yet. Ha! Didn't fall for it. So if you fall down that way, you'll go into Deepnest. And that's one way to get into Deepnest. There's a bunch of different ways now that I think about it. I think there's like 4, maybe 5. It's usually more of a question of how you want to get into Deepnest than actually getting in. So another benefit of going back is that now we can get that Mask Shard at Queen's Station, we can get a variety of relics, we can get the third spell. Actually, we haven't got the second spell of Desolate Dive, but we can get the third one of Howling Wraiths. So if we were willing to buy that... Actually, I can almost afford the lantern. Huh. Didn't expect that. Although with Fragile Greed, that's probably the reason why. Of course, you have the banker over to the left of there, but it's a really bad idea to invest too much. I think once you hit the 3,000 mark is where she takes all your money and runs. And it's a little too early in the game to actually be able to hunt her down. Not that you probably have 3,000 Geo at this point. Before... I mean, they're not called small Umas, so I want to remember what they are. Yumas, okay. I'm still gonna call them Umas. Or small Umas. Oh, I completely missed Howling Wraiths. So your first way to the left will take you there. And if you come here without the Mantis Claw, you can at least go up and get the Howling seal, as well as some lifeblood. But you'll hit a dead end once you enter Queen's Gardens. As without the Shade Cloak or opening the way from Queen's Garden, you're just not going to be able to enter Queen's Garden. Yep. Thought I was going to be dashing to there. And so you just gotta clear a small gauntlet of the little mosquitoes. And Howling Wraiths isn't a spell that I use very often. The upgraded version of Abyss Shriek is really where it gets good. Or rather, Dark Scream. This is also one reason why Gathering Swarm is such a nice charm to have, especially paired with Fragile Greed, since all that Geo that you would otherwise miss is going to be scooped up. But considering it costs 300 Geo to buy, it does more than make up for it, but it's definitely going to set you back, at least initially. Plus, if you're using Compass with your first playthrough, which is a pretty good idea, having that, Gathering Swarm, Fragile Greed, at this point in the game you just wouldn't have room for anything else. So it's the entire decisions. And of course you don't actually need to have anything. You can easily, well, not necessarily easily, but especially early game, you can make it through with no charms. And you can make it through the entire game with no charms, other than what's required to beat the game. Which is only if you're going for the fighting the Radiance and the Black Egg, or the Godholm engines. I think if you're just fighting the Hollow Knight, you can make it through with nothing. Yeah, you can. Trying to remember if Massive Moss Charger is one of them that gets extra geo if you have Fragile Greed on. There we go. Yeah, he does give extras, it seems. Because you got that flashing geo. So there is slight benefit, I suppose, to coming back here with Fragile Greed, if you are so inclined to buy it at that point. So this room allows you to get a Vessel Fragment. It's probably your first one in the game unless you're really grinding geo to get slies, which isn't recommended because you're not going to be able to make one for quite a while. You can get a small geo chest. Of course, this is if you're willing to do the pogoing. If you come... Otherwise, you just gotta wait for acid resistance. So if you just have dash, that's as much as you can get, which is why I waited for Mantis Claw. Because now... I can make it over there. And this is one way into Queen's Garden, but you have to come from Queen's Garden to get fully out of it. But by cutting this way open from the Greenpath side, you can now make it the entire way once you come out of there from Queen's Garden. Because there's a Whispering Route, and you're going to need to have both ways open to fully access it. Now, of course, you can always use Mark of Pride if you got it from the Mantis Lords to make the pogo-in a good bit easier, because that extra range helps enormously with any kind of pogo-in. I think it's these guys that are kind of annoying to finish out the journal with. There's quite a few journal ones that are really tiresome to do, which is why I've only done the journal once and then I just skipped it every other playthrough. I usually don't even pick up the journal anymore. Oh right, so that journal that I picked up quite a while ago, it's an easy one to overlook if you have don't come back with the Mantis Claw. And because it's only a Wanderer's Journal, it's not like you're losing too much out of it. So ordinarily you wouldn't have this much geo, and ordinarily I don't get the Fragile Greed either. But if you do get it, and you kind of passively kill things, you can have quite a bit of geo like right now. I'm trying to remember where I was actually going to go. I think at this point I might as well go to Howling Cliffs, since I'll have the lantern in just a moment. Even though the City of Tears is still your best bet, with with being the best place that you should go to first. Because as well, the Charm Shop, Salubra's Charm Shop is also another good place to visit. I probably should have opened that way. As well, those two Moss Knights are actually a really good thing to get. The two Moss Knights right up top from where Hornet was, with Fragile Greed, it's actually a pretty good place to get to. to farm with Fragile Greed is what I mean. I'm not thinking straight. Because that's about 100 geo there. And you can always use the bench to reset them. But again, you don't really need to grind geo. Like, if you just put on Fragile Greed and you just keep killing things ordinarily, especially if you pair it with Gather and Swarm, you're going to get more geo than you know what to do with. Especially if you pick up relics. So beyond the reason of picking up the lantern at this point, the other reason to do this is I didn't open up the Stagaway and Dirtmouth, so I need to be able to hit that switch and get it open. So with 500 geo left, a good thing that I could spend it on now is stopping by the charm shop if I wanted to get another charm. And also get, another charm notch. I think I have 5 charms at this point. And also buy Shaman Stone, which is incredibly useful. Because if you get confident with playing with spells, just Vengeful Spirit or Shade Soul once you've upgraded it, both of them are really handy. And of course, if I were willing to do the Shade Skip, you can actually get to Blue Lake and the Resting Grounds right now from Salubra's Charm Shop. You would just use your Shade to Pogo and get up there. Of course, one time only, get Salubra's Blessing and never play that file again. Never rest at a bench again. Or her laughter will haunt you forever. So now with 5 charm notches, I can drop Soul Catcher and take Shaman Stone instead. And of course, the more geo that you have, you can get, I think you can actually get her 3rd charm notch before you even go into the City of Tears, if you were really willing to hunt down all the charms, as you can actually pick up a number of them. So the benefit is that not only do you now do a little bit more damage, like Vengeful Spirit does the equivalent of 3 nail swings, Shaman Stone ups it to 4, but now it is even bigger and easier to hit guys, and it's a lot easier to double hit critters with it. Actually, wait, I think I was going to go into the Howling Cliffs just for the lulz. Or rather... Nah, I'm going to stick with that. So, I'm going to go into Deepnest and get the Tram Pass, and that seems like a good time to then stop. Since a lot of this is just coming as it goes, you know, just remembering and then which way that I can go. I'm trying to, it's not really a plotted out path. Which means that this will probably run longer than anticipated than if I were just doing a normal clear. Because there's a lot more efficient ways to go about this. And it doesn't matter too much as to which way you get into Deepnest, whether you go by the Moss Prophets route or from the Mantis Lords. I think the Mantis Lords makes it a little easier to get a Howling seal as you make it to the hot springs bench. Alright, Deepnest, begin intake 2. You have to go through Fungal Core to get that, so you can't get that one until you've got Double Jump. Which is actually the only, technically the only charm that, sorry, not charm, Mask Shard that you need to have Double Jump to get. Although, you're generally gonna need, you're gonna have 2 of them that require having it. Of course, what makes Deepnest so annoying are those guys, the dirt-covered things, and the many, many spikes. But it's another reason why Shaman Stone is so nice. Oop. So you can one-hit kill them with a single Vengeful Spirit. So with that Howling seal, that makes it a lot easier. And that one I always tend to forget about. The only reason I remember it is when I was doing the pacifist runs, I was trying to pick up Howling seals. That was one that I was trying to get, but going through that room without, you know, getting yourself killed when you're not killing any of those spiders is actually kind of rough. And it's actually kind of easy to get lost back here. Alright. Hot Springs. So we're going to quickly try to get the Tram Pass and then make it back. Now, if you had either Double Jump or Crystal Heart, you could go left there and fight Nosk, which would be a bad idea this early on because he just has too much health. He's not difficult to beat, even though I tend to be really stupid on the fight and get hit quite a bit. Which is another thing about these guys, it's so easy to overlook one of them. It'd be an awful shame if you were carrying a flower. So this grub you can actually get rather early if you're willing to pogo the spikes. Otherwise, you'd need to come back with Super Dash or whatever kind of thing you're going to use. So you can actually reach Zote for his second appearance, and doing that will let him appear in the Coliseum of Fools. Actually, I remember what I overlooked. I didn't rescue Bretta yet. Because if you rescue Bretta, you can actually have that 7th Mask Shard. Alas. Of course, the one benefit here is that you can also make it to the Ancient Basin quickly for the Pale Ore and rescue Cloth, if you want her to show up in the Traitor Lord fight. So, this place is really good to farm Geo. Well, not this specific room. The actual room with the Tram Pass. I think they do like 5 or 6 of them before they run out of spawn in the Dirt Carvers. But as you can see, you can get a pretty hefty amount of geo if you're willing to farm them. And there's lifeblood up there if I cared to get it. So in this room you'd get your Tram Pass, but you'd need to be... You're going to get quickly dealing with quite a few of them. What you can do is you can just keep aiming up like this if you just don't really care. Especially if you're trying to farm. I think you can actually... Yeah, you can still hit them from that direction as well. Once they make the disgusting slurping sounds, then they're out of spawns. Of course, you could just jump out and Vengeful Spirit them as well. See, like, that was a fun double hit. And you get about 200... You got, like, almost 250 geo from that. And especially once you've upgraded your stuff, got Gather and Swarm, and you can kill them super fast, it's just waiting for them to spawn them. Now, if I wanted to further explore Deepnest... Now that I've got a lantern, I could go on. But if I didn't have the lantern yet, which is probably the case if you're going for the Tram Pass this early, you're going to be stuck not going... You're not really going to be able to go further. Unless you really like exploring in the dark, which is not a wise idea in Deepnest. With the sheer number of spikes. That's a breakable floor to get to another area. It's actually one that you went through beforehand, especially if you go in from the Moss Prophet route. So by doing this, we open up the way to Zote. And among other things, it also gives another relic, which can be really handy. Since instead of it would be a King's Idol, which is 800 geo. And of course, we didn't do anything. Again, loosening the pickle jar. As Zote is the true champion of Hallownest. Of course, making your way back, there's so many things to just watch out for, because it's so easy to forget. Like that guy right there. They do pretty well at hide-in. But of course, much like last time, we're ending with our boy Quirrell. Alright, so that is the end of part 2. I'll try and get a part 3 up, since folks have expressed interest in me continuing with this. This is one way that you can go once you've got the Mantis Claw. The easiest way would be going into the City of Tears right off the bat, and using the City Crest that you got from the False Knight. But nonetheless, we'll see how that goes next time, especially with the City of Tears. Once again, thank you very much for all your kind words, for watching, for feedback, and stay safe, stay healthy. You have a wonderful day.